Good evening and welcome to the April 12th, 2022 meeting of the Chatham Select Board. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled and on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please let me know. Pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 signing of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, including the extension of his March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, until July 15, 2022, this meeting of the Chatham Select Board is being conducted via in-person and remote participation. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410. Our conference ID is 203-386-491 and then pound. Or join the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link in the posted agenda. While this is a live broadcast and simulcast on Channel 18, despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access. We will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. Again, welcome everyone. Just a reminder for everyone, please mute your mic and turn off your cameras until you're called on. Let's start with a roll call. Vice Chair Shereen Davis.
Present.
Clerk Corey Metters.
Present.
Select Board Member Dean Castro.
Present.
Select Board Member Jeffrey Dykins.
Present.
And the Chair, Peter Kokolas, is present. All right, just an overview of what we're going to do tonight. It's pretty simple as far as an agenda is concerned compared to what we've done in the past. We start with two sets of meetings, March 29th and April 5th. Then we'll go into public announcements and agenda item requests. Then we'll go to our new business. The first one is a public hearing, which is a transfer of an annual alcohol restaurant license from the Talkative Pig to I'll go to Drop Dock doing business as Drifters. Then we have public comments on the following agenda items. This is when the public can talk about the following agenda items. The first one is consider a request from the Independence Day Parade Committee to reduce the size. Then consider an application for one-day alcohol permits. You will notice that the Selden Family Chatham Community Center, there's no action that's due on that one. There's no alcohol required. But we will go into the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance on a request for a one-day alcohol permit. Then we'll go into the use of property for fireworks at Veterans Field. Then we'll consider a request from the Monomoy Regional School District for us to provide a request for a stepping stones parcel for town for affordable and attainable housing. And then we'll look again at water conservation and reaffirming potentially the conservation and outdoor watering ban. And then we have a number of executive session minutes that we'll be looking at to release. So, given all of that, let's go back. We'll start with our minutes. We'll start with first, I guess, with March 29th, and we can have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any changes or discussions? Seeing none, let's take a vote. Shereen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Okay. Next up are the April 5th minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second?
Second.
Any changes or comments? Dean?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 7, under the mobile food regulations section, after the third paragraph, I'd like to insert the following sentence as a separate paragraph. The licensing agent will incorporate the board's policy comments into a revision of the proposed regulation and present the document for approval at a future date, period. I'll read that one more time. The licensing agent will incorporate the board's policy comments into a revision of the proposed regulation and present the document for approval at a future date.
Okay.
And I have one other edit on page 8. First line, I would like it to read as follows. Action is needed other than the board authorizes, I'm sorry, action is needed other than that the board authorizes and approves the submittal of the proposed letter. So I would insert the word "that" after the word "than," and I would add an S at the end of authorize and an S at the end of approve.
You got that, Alec? Okay.
Thank you.
Any other changes or comments? Okay. Let's take a vote. Start with Shereen again.
Aye.
Corey? Aye. Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. We'll start with some public announcements and agenda item requests. I have one that I'm going to start with, and this is, I think we all know, but a personal and really a sad announcement for me, the passing of a dear colleague, Florence Selden. Florence was on the board of and the first person I spoke to about volunteering, about being on town committees. That was after I became a year-long resident. She was, and I also went to her when I was thinking about becoming a select board. I never forgave her for that, but I did. That was supposed to be a little. Anyway, she was encouraging and understanding, gracious, and I think most would agree, brilliant person. She was always available to make sense out of what I would call political chaos. Florence was a longtime volunteer who was passionate about the need for affordable housing and quality education. She served on the select board from 2009 to 2015. She was the chair from 2011, 2012, and 2014. She was currently vice chair of the finance committee. She was a retired educator and was superintendent of schools in the town of Harvard from 1988 to 1992. Florence and her husband Ira moved to Chatham in 1994 and became serving as volunteers at different organizations in the community. She joined the League of Local Women Voters, which she served as president from 1997 to 2000. She also served on the town's Affordable Housing Committee, Charter Review Committee, Town Manager Search Committee, Community Preservation Committee, and as the town's representative to the Cape Cod Commission and the Cape Cod Water Protection Collaborative. She will be dearly missed. A celebration of life for Dr. Florence Selden is planned by her family on Friday, April 23rd from 2 to 4 p.m. at the Chatham Community Center. And I believe Dean has a comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to read a few sentences. Florence Selden was a compassionate public official of considerable and indefatigable accomplishment for the town of Chatham and the larger community. She was highly intelligent and always well-informed on the issues. She passionately held strong opinions, but was greatly respectful of others with opposing views. To me personally, she was a dear friend and wise mentor. Her passing is a very sad loss for our Chatham community. May she rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Any other comments from the board? Nothing?
No, well said, well said.
Thank you. Jill?
Okay. Not about Dr. Selden. I wanted to announce that the transfer station will be closed this Sunday, April 17th, to give the transfer station workers a needed day to rest and relax and gear up for that following Monday. So thank you.
Thank you. Any public announcements? I see Gloria has her hand up. Welcome, Gloria.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed there is no COVID or water quality report on today's agenda. If that's true, I'd like to speak now.
Sure, go ahead.
I think it's important that you place a discussion as soon as possible of the possibility, strong possibilities, as Dr. Duncanson expressed yesterday at the Board of Health meeting, that Dr. Duncanson and he said that the folks downtown are considering the possibility of not conducting a study to find the source of contaminants, particularly PFAS, in our drinking water supply. When we first started discussing PFAS, the Select Board held a discussion and agreed to conduct such a study. Those of us who had expressed concerns about water quality took the select board at their word. We trusted that a study would be done not only to clean up the quality of our potable water, but to find out what has and is causing PFAS and other contamination. We did not believe that we had to continually follow up about the study. We trusted it was being done and right away because of its critical importance to all of us. Yes, such a study might be expensive, but what's more, important than our water quality and quantity? I believe that the Board of Health should be directly involved in any decision, whether to abandon or continue a study to find the source of PFAS, so we can be sure it doesn't happen again. It's important that citizens and local officials work together to protect our drinking water, to safeguard public health and economic stability. Don't tell us there will be a study and then almost a year later tell us maybe not. I hope that the select board will place a discussion of this as a future agenda item, perhaps a joint meeting with the Board of Health. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Gloria. Do we have any other public requests or agenda items? Okay. Seeing none, let's move on to our new business. First one up is our public hearing, and I'll have the clerk read the announcement. Corey?
Town of Chatham Select Board Public Hearing Notice. Notice is hereby given that the Chatham Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, at 5:30 p.m. in the large meeting room at the Town Office Annex, 261 George Ryder Road, Chatham, and remotely via Microsoft Teams platform to consider a request for transfer of an annual all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license from JTA Corp., DBA The Talkative Pig, Jeffrey Mitchell, manager, to Dock Drop LLC, Eric Plamdek, manager, 2642 Main Street, South Chatham, Mass. 02659. All interested parties are encouraged to participate. Signed, the members of the Select Board.
Thank you, Corey. Do we have anyone from Sarek here? You can both come, but when you get up there, there should be the mic, and look at the bottom part, the green light should be on, which means that they're both working, and please introduce yourself before you speak, so we have it on record, okay?
Yeah,
Welcome.
hi. Thank you. I'm Eric Lambeck.
Hi, Eric.
Dylan Cannon.
Any comments you want to make before we start talking about it? I mean, it's pretty straightforward transfer.
Sure, yeah. I mean, a little bit about myself. I currently reside in Brooklyn. I own a bar and restaurant in Brooklyn. We've been open for the last 2 years. I've been coming here for about the last 6 years, visiting Dylan and his family every summer. So my wife refers to Chatham as my happy place, and we've been trying to do something the last couple of years, and COVID put a little bit of a break on that, but yeah, things have come together, and so I've been in the industry for a very long time, since I was a teenager, and this will be my second go at it, and I'm just looking forward to it. So if you have any specific questions about, menu, business, operations, that kind of stuff, happy to go over it.
Hey, Dylan.
Yeah, I personally grew up in Chatham. Some of you probably know me. Most of you probably know my parents, who are both back there. But I've been working in the restaurant industry on and off for about 16 years, and I moved away for a while, and when I came back, noticed that there was definitely a need and a desire from the people of Chatham for something new and exciting, and this opportunity, I feel like, is giving us a chance to breathe a little bit of new life into what we all desire from the local restaurant industry.
Yeah, from a personal point of view, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Shireen and then Jeff.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and Congratulations on the new
Thank you.
business.
Thank you.
I'd like to hear a little more about the business.
Sure.
Like, are you going to be open year-round?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I can go.
What's on the menu?
So absolutely year-round. I mean, the license requires it, correct? And we're happy to do that. That's a few things that sort of just what we've seen and I've seen coming here is we definitely want to open full-time from the daytime into the evening. Because of COVID, the layout of the restaurant, the previous owners have positioned part of it to do just for naturally to kind of do a daytime coffee, sandwiches, those sort of things. So if you're looking for, a second coffee after drop off the kids, you'll be able to do that. And then it has what I call the brick and mortar restaurant side of it that will do full service lunch and dinner. We're hoping to be open a little bit later than is typical because we want to offer something for industry people, owners like us, to be able to go get a bite, pick something up when they get off work as well. In terms of the food menu, it's going to be shareable plates. My niche for what I do in my current business is we deal with a lot of quintessential, like classic coastal cuisine, but we do things that kind of address dietary restrictions. So take like calamari, instead of having it have gluten breading, we do it with corn mosses. So it's gluten-free, it's celiac, those sort of things people are able to enjoy it. I make vegan crema for my mushroom tacos, so the tacos can be vegan. So that's kind of a big part of the business model that will come in, that you'll see a lot of typical things that are recognizable, friendly, approachable for people, but they'll be able to kind of expand their accessibility. And then we both bartended in New York City. That's how we know each other. So we love making proprietary things that are unique to the spaces.
So I didn't have any questions about the licensing at all. I was just interested in what
Yeah,
you were doing.
absolutely.
And very
Yeah.
supportive of your application.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Jeff and then Dean and Corey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, guys, for coming tonight. I wish you well.
Thank you.
It's very exciting. Talking to Pig was one of my favorite spots, but a couple of questions. You're gonna have pizza ovens there or not?
Pizza ovens are there. I don't think pizza is our
It's not gonna be your
our
fork.
direction
Okay.
necessarily, but
Yeah.
they'll be in full use for sure.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of takeout, you're gonna do takeout?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And in-house dining as well?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Well, I wish you very well, good luck. God
Awesome.
bless.
Thank you.
Go get them. It's just
Thanks.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Dean?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you for coming. I'm very supportive. I think it's
Awesome.
great that that's going to remain a restaurant. I think it's really important to have that in South Chatham.
Thank you very much.
I just had a couple of questions. I think these are more directed to Shauna about the application. There's a letter from the Department of Unemployment Assistance, and on its terms, it says it expires when the certificate expires in 30 days. Is that a problem for us because the letter's dated February
No.
10th? Okay, and then the next couple more. On the, I guess this is a question for the applicants. The coastal community, is that a bank out of state?
No,
one
that's
of the
here.
Coastal
That-
community?
Yeah, it's-
They're local.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the manager, Eric, you're going to be the manager 50 hours. Are you going to be, because you have a residential address in New York, I assume you're going to be here.
Absolutely.
to
Yeah, the
put in
space has
50
an
hours.
apartment above it that,
Okay.
yeah, and I'll be, yeah,
Great.
for,
And
I
Shauna,
might never leave.
Shauna, on that same page, the employment information section is blank. Is that a concern?
No.
Okay. And I think I had one more. On the corporate vote, there's no date of meeting, but this is an LLC, and they probably don't have a meeting, so that's okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to vote yes on this. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.
Corey?
No, I was going to say, wish you guys the best of luck. I mean, that building has a lot of interesting history. I mean, growing up with the old Cumbies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
Cahoons.
yes. Okay.
I grew up in Cockle Cove,
So,
so it's like
so did
it's my
I,
old
yeah.
neighborhood. So
So
it's
did
like
I,
it's
so-
fun for me to see like what this could be and how it breathe a little new life into South Chatham too, because it's
Any chance of some live music, maybe?
I don't think that entertainment is allowed.
If you'll
in
let
that.
us.
Yeah, you want to let us go for it,
We'll
sure.
apply for it for sure.
Maybe down the road, we can have that conversation, so. No, just
I
wish
got
you
I got a total stranger in the family, so it's kind of,
no, I wish you guys the best of luck.
Awesome, thank you.
I have one more.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. and
So
then-
the name of the restaurant is?
Drifters.
Drifters. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Good, thanks.
All right, I have to ask, Eric, I'm sorry. I used to pride myself on spotting a Brooklyn accent from someone from Queens or Manhattan.
I've
You're-
only
you're
been there
like
11
me. You're
years.
from someplace else.
I'm originally from San Clemente, California, so
Okay,
hence,
that I understand.
hence why I love Chatham. Just anything,
I get
being
it.
back by the ocean is,
Okay,
it's great.
thank you. Any other questions? We can take a vote to approve.
Move to approve.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Second, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll start with
Peter,
Jeff.
Peter, can you just inquire if there's any
Oh,
public
wait a
comment?
minute.
Public
It's a public hearing.
That's right.
Okay, caught me. Any comments or questions from the public? I don't see any hands raised and no one in the building. Okay, let's continue with the vote. Jeff?
Aye, good luck.
Dean?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Shereen?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Congratulations,
great.
guys.
Thank you
Good
very
luck.
much. Thank you.
All right, now we have public comments on the agenda item, our business agenda that I mentioned before. Do we have any public comments either from in the room or I see Elaine has her hand up. Go ahead, Elaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to mention, I understand you made a comment that I was on multiple devices. I wasn't. This has happened over the last couple of weeks. When I do try and get on, I get bounced off, but it won't let me sign out. And so then I have to sign in again. And I think it's happened to a couple other people. I've seen other people on multiple times. So I think there might be a glitch somewhere.
Okay.
I'd like to comment on two of the agenda items. I had hoped that you would allow public comment during them. One is on stepping stones for affordable housing, because I don't believe that's ever been before the board for discussion. And the other is water conservation, because it affects everybody in town. But I'll make my comments now. In terms of stepping stones, I had brought this up to open spaces and to affordable housing and a few other people. There are 32 acres at the middle school. And I think when we regionalized, I think we probably should have held back some of that land at the time, because that was the amount of land needed for a high school, but not a middle school. But we didn't do that. We're being asked at town meeting to take over the Chatham Elementary School. And I think this year it costs upwards of $900,000, as well as taking over future repairs. And that's going to be a really significant financial burden for the town. And what concerns me is it does nothing to increase the enrollment of Chatham Elementary to keep it viable. And so I believe that in exchange for that agreement that is going to be at town meeting, that we ask the Montmory Regional School District to declare not only the 2 acres on Stepping Stone, but up in the back, there are probably 4 or 5 acres that overlook the ball field that is not being used by the school for affordable housing. I think it's a proactive action that the school board and the district can take if they really believe that Chatham Elementary is worth saving. Because by putting in affordable housing there, we are going to attract families, and there is a hope that we will be able to increase the population at the elementary school so that it can survive. I think it's a perfect place. It's a residentially zoned. It's near downtown. It's near a bike path. There are tennis courts. The kids can walk to school. So I hope that the select board moves forward on this with a unanimous vote, and hopefully get it done in time so that it can be brought to the floor at this town meeting. My second is on the outdoor water usage ban. I read the packet and I'm very confused. I know we were in a different position in the fall when there was a total water ban. I know well 4 is operating now, but I couldn't tell if what is being proposed is watering 2 days a week or a total ban. And in reading it, I see where there are exceptions like washing down boats. I think that is not recreational boating should not take priority over people who don't have boats but have a huge investment in their homes and not wanting to lose their lawns. Lawns need watering, not just if they're new or saplings. So I would hope that when you look at this, you take into consideration the equity for all the people in town, and not just pick and choose certain groups that you think it's okay for them to do things, because we all have an investment in the town, and I hope that you will approve 2 days a week with a limited usage of water so that people won't lose vegetation that requires watering in the dead of summer when it's 95 degrees out. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Dean has a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. Elaine, it's Dean. Just had a question about the school. How many acres additional were you suggesting that the town should request be declared surplus besides the
I
present
would
area?
think that up there has to be 5 or 6 acres. We never did a study on that as to how much is actually there, but you would enter it, there could be a road right to the west of this 2+ parcel that would just go up a hill up into that area, and I would assume you could put 4 or 5 units up there. It would be up to, obviously, you guys to determine how much acreage, but I think there's enough there to certainly have a nice little development of homes up there.
The other question I had was on the water. Is it your view that allowing watering 2 days a week would be sufficient for maintenance of lawns and other?
I don't think it is probably, but at minimum, so that there could be, if we get rain, then obviously people can shut them off.
Yeah.
But it's really hard when you have these systems. You got to get your water people out to reprogram them, and it's not all that. Some of them have odd and even and such, but if it's specific, and we should know because everybody's turning on their systems now. Okay. So it'd be helpful if we could get an answer to that. And I would say 2 or 3 days, if that's possible. Just so that I think it also looks bad for tourism if everybody's lawn is dead and browned out. It's not that should be the only motivation, but certainly I think that preserving our landscaping is important because that's what attracts a lot of people to Chatham.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Elaine. Okay. Any others? I don't see anything. Do you have anything? No. Okay. Let's continue with our agenda. First one is a request from the Independence Day Committee to reduce the committee size. Do we have anyone on? No.
I'll take it then. I'm the liaison to the committee. No, they are currently a committee of 7 members. There's been 2 vacancies for quite a considerable time. Unfortunately, we've not been able to fill because we haven't had applicants stepping forward to serve. But anyway, the group is working diligently to prepare for this year's Independence Day Parade. If we could reduce it to 5, the 5 current members would have a better chance of making quorum. But every once in a while, if you have 1 or 2 members vacant from the attending, they can't proceed with their meeting because they don't have a quorum. So just for functional efficiency, we could drop them down to 5, let the 5 members continue to serve and do their work.
Okay. Thank you, Corey. Shireen?
I'm going to make a motion.
Okay.
I think it's pretty cut forward. I think that's, I move to reduce the size of the Independence Day Parade Committee from 7 members to 5 members.
Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's start the vote. Shireen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Okay, next up on our agenda is consider an application for a one-day alcohol permit from the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen. At least I don't see anybody on. do
Yeah,
you?
Jennifer
I
Allen's on.
think Jen and Tom.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Welcome.
Yes. Hi,
Okay.
everyone.
Hi, Jen.
The Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance is bringing back our Meet the Fleet events this year. We've been doing them hybrid and on Zoom and since 2020, and we are bringing them back. The first one will be on Wednesday, April 27th. And we are requesting a one-day alcohol permit. We have a 30-minute sort of reception prior to the presentation. So the event is from 5 to 7:30, and from 5 to 5:30, we have Chatham Bars Inn provides snacks, and we like to have some sort of refreshments, and we have Quahog Republic as a sponsor this year, and they are going to be providing beer. It's a tasting, it's not a full beer. And everyone who is in the building, you know, the gentleman from the brewery will be serving the beer and will be IDing folks if they look underage, and they'll be receiving a small tasting of beer. So that is our one-day permit request.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's nice to see that you're getting back to doing that again. Any
Yes.
questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, how about a motion?
Mr. Chairman, move to grant a special one-day liquor permit for all alcoholic beverages to Jennifer Bryant on behalf of Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance for Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at 1566 Main Street, West Chatham.
Thank you. Second? Second. Okay, let's take a vote. Shereen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Have a good time there, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Okay. Next is use of town property, July 2nd fireworks, Veterans Field. Welcome, Steve. I saw you on there earlier.
Well, you can't see me, sorry, Mr. Chair, but I'm having a little trouble with the video here. I just picture me in a suit and tie and fully shaved and everything.
Yeah, just like you would be in Texas, right?
That's right, that's right. Hey, I'm sorry that my video isn't working, and I'm sorry I'm not there to present this request in person, but hey, this virtual attendance is very beneficial for those of us who can't. For those in the room and who are watching this, I'm Steve West, president of the Chatham Athletic Association, and our organization oversees Chatham Anglers Summer College Baseball team, and I'm here today representing our organization as well as several other Chatham businesses, and we're asking for your permission to hold a fireworks and related activities event at Veterans Field on Saturday, July the 2nd. I'll just set the table a little bit. You may recall last year that the anglers, with significant financial support from Chatham Bars Inn and other sponsors that included Chatham Candy Manor, Kinlan Grover Realty, Chatham Cookware, Chatham Clothing Bar, and the Chamber of Commerce, Chatham Chamber of Commerce, received your approval to hold this fireworks event last year. Unfortunately, last year's event was canceled due to the weather. So this is actually, so we're planning to put on essentially the same show that this board approved last year. It's been stymied for 2 years. This is actually our third try. We were going to do it in 2020, but COVID handled that one. So it's a little bit of background. The fireworks is going to be very similar to the annual first night fireworks show at Veterans Field. We use the same fireworks company, North Star Fireworks, that's put on the fireworks show at Veterans Field for many years, and also the Oyster Pond show. As such, they're very familiar with Chatham protocols and with Veterans Field. Sunset that night is about 8:20, so we anticipate that the fireworks will begin at around 9 p.m. and they will last approximately 20 minutes. The viewing areas, barricades, et cetera, around the field will be set up in the same manner and locations as they are for first night. We've received the endorsements to hold this event from both the police and fire departments. Chief Mark Polina and Dave Pasquale have given their okay. and we will coordinate along with North Star Fireworks closely with them on this event. A little bit before the event kicks off, we've got things beginning at 6 o'clock with children-focused events such as face painting and balloon making. And the pre-fireworks festivities will also include Dan Clark, the singing trooper, performing a 45-minute patriotic song medley that leads up to the fireworks. I hope you agree this event will be a great addition to our July 4th weekend, and if so, that you'll approve this request. In the interest of time, that's all I got, and I'll be glad to answer any comments or questions and hopefully get your approval to conduct this event.
Hey, thank you, Steve. And you've gone from, well, I know the last two were supposed to be 20 minutes, but if I remember, it started at 15 minutes for fireworks, and this sounds like a great event. Any questions or comments from the board? Corey?
Hey, Steve, how's it going? It's Corey. No, I think this is a wonderful event. I think, it'd be good for the community. Just for protocol question, is this going to be a go, no-go, weather pending, or does there a rain date consideration required for this?
As of now, it's a go, no-go, but that was the same way we did it last time too. We can get a rain date after the season, which you may or may not remember also got rained out last year. So
Right.
If you guys want rain, it'll happen around our fireworks.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Jeff?
Thank you, Mr. That sounds great, Steve. What time does this event start? And I assume that close to dark, the fireworks will go, or?
Yep, 6 o'clock is children's activities,
Okay.
and we'll have the concession stand open as well. So 6 o'clock, the singing trooper will come on around 7:45 to 8:30 or thereabouts, and he leads right into the fireworks. Fireworks will probably be closer to 9 o'clock, so he probably would start a little later than 7:45.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Dean?
Mr. Chairman, I want to offer a motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the request to use Veterans Field for fireworks display and associated programming on Saturday, July 2nd, 2022.
We have a second?
Second.
Second, discussion? Seeing none, vote. Shereen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Thanks very much, Steve. Good luck.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
You bet. Okay, next is consider a request to Monomoy Regional School District Committee for use of stepping stones for affordable housing, and I guess we have Ally on for that.
That is correct. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Ally.
Thank you. So we're here tonight to discuss potential affordable, attainable housing on the Stepping Stones property. And if I'm just going to quickly share my screen so that everyone can see the location where we're discussing. So this in front of you is the middle school, and we're talking about this section of the middle school right here, property right here, which is adjacent to Stepping Stones. It's approximately 2 acres plus or minus. In your packet, there is a fact sheet that we've prepared, and I'll just kind of quickly go through it for the board and the public. So right now, this piece is part of the lease to the middle school. It's zoned M. Again, it's approximately 2 acres. The sewer in this area, it is sewered in this area, but the number of bedrooms under current regulations could be plus or minus 8. However, if we were going to do a 40B for affordable and attainable housing on this piece of property, we could potentially have additional flow to create additional units in this area. It's not in a zone 2 or the flood zone, which is good. And it's not in the HBDC. So that's kind of just a quick overview of the parcel, or the section of the parcel. On December 20th, 2021, the Affordable Housing Trust Fund did meet to discuss a number of housing initiatives, and this was one of the town-owned parcels that we considered. The trust did think that there was other parcels that were better suited at the moment to go forward for this annual town meeting, and staff pursued those to go forward. However, we now are in front of the select board to potentially discuss affordable, attainable housing on this piece to go forward. So if we're here to see if the board would consider putting affordable attainable housing on this piece, and if so, we're asking that the board direct the town manager to request an agenda item on the school committee to discuss this further with them. So again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ally. Any questions from the board? We'll start with Corey and then Jeff.
I guess I want to just back up a little bit about the mechanics on this, because I know when this parcel was brought up for a consideration of a site for the COA, school committee members kind of balked a little bit about kind of taking a position at the time. And maybe I'm not using the right phrase. They didn't want to get political about it. So the school committee, you know, we could ask the school committee whether that particular parcel, or as suggested earlier, a larger parcel, if the school committee has any current or future plans for that land, because they're the stewards, they're one of the stewards of that property, and that's the lens they're looking for. If the decision is made that it is not a land that they have any future use for, then it would come to us to figure out the best use, whether it be affordable attainable housing, whether it would be the COA site. You know, there's been some, general comments about a town pool. You know, who knows? In 10 years, we could maybe get ourselves a pool. 15 if we're aggressive. But anyway, so the determination at this point would be to reach out to the school committee just to see if they have any plans for this land, period. And then would kick back to us. So where affordable attainable housing is probably one of the top choices if we were to do anything with this property, I don't think that's the particular ask that we're asking the school committee. I guess I just want some clarification on the process a little bit here.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, so when we had a preliminary meeting with the school superintendent about this property, he had suggested that the school committee would want a formal request by the select board. So tonight's agenda item, because it had been discussed by the trust as potentially affordable and attainable housing, that's how we framed the request. But again, it's up to the select board to decide exactly what direction you want to give me and what to ask for the school committee. But they felt that they would want to have the discussion at a posted meeting to consider it. So a formal recommendation from the select board.
Go ahead.
Just to follow up. So, okay, so I guess one thing that the board will have to decide is if we're asking to go to the school committee with the, 2.2 acre parcel that that's in our packet, or if there's anything more expansive of that. I hold different opinions depending on what direction we go on that. So those are my questions at the moment. I'm going to hold, but I might have some follow-up. Most likely I will. But I do appreciate the clarification on what process we're doing here. Thank you.
Okay, I had Shireen and Jeff, and then Dean, sorry.
Corey, just
Go ahead.
so I was on some of the calls that were part of the initial discussions, and I felt that they were pretty positive all around. And I talked with a school committee member about this. She had called me because she had heard about it and felt pretty good. So saying all that, Ally, the question about the extra land that Ms. Gibbs had discussed in the back, have you looked, when you've looked at this property, did you take that into consideration at all? And were there any challenges to considering that acreage behind the ball field to the, I guess it's the west?
Yeah, so we didn't take into consideration the property in the back to the west here, and let me share my screen again so we can see. So I believe that she's speaking of this area back here. Mm-hmm. We didn't take that into consideration. We were really just focusing on this portion right here adjacent to Stepping Stones. As was previously discussed, that's where a citizen's petition for the COA was planning to go. So we were just really looking at this section. We would obviously be happy to further explore the back parcel. But, we'd have to look into that more. And I'm not sure how the school committee would feel either, because again, the ball fields are right in this location. So I don't know if they currently use this portion or not. We would have to explore that further with the committee.
Okay, well, that makes sense to do that in process. Maybe it's the motion going forward is going to be up to including those two, but there's just a comment I want to make about our process through this, because we've been, we've looked at several properties in several different, areas, and we're getting to the point where we need to really take some actions. And, it's obvious that when there aren't enough homes for people to live in Chatham, everybody has to compete for what's available, and there's nothing available, obviously. So instead of, in the housing market being fast, you just need to be rich to stay in the game. And so I think that speaks a lot to what's going on in Chatham. And we need more houses in all shapes and sizes and in different areas of town. And this will allow more people to stay and thrive. And when we're considering either affordable or attainable housing down the road, these are things that are really important and key, including providing opportunities for teachers and people that work within the town, to be able to retain people that are living here. It's important. So I am very encouraged about this. I think this is a good path to go. As I said, we need to be addressing housing projects in many locations. The housing crisis and the bleed of the population in this town has been and continues to be the trend for the Cape, Chatham and the Cape. So I'm going to be the aggressor when it comes to looking at properties in town, and be very, I really want to go forward with this.
Thank you, Shereen, and before I go on, just one.
Can I just get a point of clarification? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, just because I was on that phone call also, and this is also representative of our housing trust, which is the board and two other members, to look at stepping stone. One comment, which is in the staff report, we don't need to go to town meeting. This is a lease change. Is that correct?
For the lease to
Lease
be
for this.
amended, no, but to declare it surplus because it's zoned M.
Right.
I believe that's the action for a town meeting. It doesn't appear that it would be on the next town meeting because it's already May 14th for the next town meeting.
Okay, thank you. Corey had one follow-up, then I have Jeff, who's been
Just for
waiting.
clarification, and I'll yield, but I don't, and you may want to call on Ms. Gibbs for clarification. I was under the impression that the extra land up top would include some of the already cleared space where some of the ball field is, because the wooded area up there acts as a buffer to some of the residential area, and it is a little bit sloped, so I don't know if that would be as viable a place to develop. So I would just want clarification on what the recommendation for additional area actually is. But I interpreted it slightly differently, so.
Okay. Let me go to Jeff and Dean, and then Elaine is still on, and then I'll go back to her if we have to. Jeff?
So I'm thrilled to see this on the agenda following our Affordable Housing Trust meeting. It's kind of too bad we couldn't tee it up for May, but perhaps we'll have a special going forward at some point, and we can tee it up then. Very much in favor of asking or approaching the school committee and meeting with them to see if they would declare this land surplus, whether it's the 2 acres, 2+ acres on where the property described as stepping stones, if you will, the property that was under consideration for the Council on Aging, or beyond. I have no opinion on what could happen beyond that. I do know that the piece at Stepping Stones resonates with me because it is a residential area. It is so close to the middle school and the elementary school, frankly, close to a bike path, and I think it just fits, it resonates, it fits much better than a Council on Aging would have fit there. And I say would have because in my mind that the Council on Aging on that piece of property is kind of off the table in my mind. So it's good for offering some more affordable and perhaps attainable housing for the town. It would increase the student population, hopefully, increase the opportunities for younger people to live in town, and I think it's absolutely worthy of pursuit. And I do think we get a warm ear at the school committee, especially if it was for affordable and attainable housing. I think we would. It resonates too much. It dovetails exactly with what we're trying to do here and there. We want to get kids for the schools. So it makes a lot of sense to me to pursue it. I've had conversations with, Dave Oppenheim's talked to me a couple times about this. A whole bunch of people around town have mentioned it. Like, look, Council on Aging may not belong there, but maybe it would be a really good spot for affordable, attainable housing. And I agree with them. I think we ought to pursue it. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I agree also, but Dean, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I just really wanted to follow up on Corey's initial question or comment and what Jill said about the conversation with the superintendent. Was the understanding from the superintendent that the town should ask the school committee to declare this surplus, or was it to ask the school committee about whether they had any future need of this property? Because when the school committee was considering the idea of putting a council on aging there, a number of us attended those meetings, and I remember distinctly one of the representatives from Harwich saying that the property should be preserved for the district for possible future use in the school system. So I just really wanted to clarify, what your understanding on. I guess the three of you were all on the same phone call. So, if I'm making my distinction correct, there's two different questions.
Sure, Mr. Chair. So the school committee hasn't discussed this at all. So the discussion with the superintendent was that we were interested in it for potentially affordable, attainable housing. And his request to us is that we make a formal request to the school committee. In looking at the lease agreement language, there is a section of it for changes or amendments about parcels of land in particular, that they could declare it surplus and that it could revert back to the town in which the parcel is located. We didn't get, at least the conversation that I was part of, we didn't get into that specific detail. This was an opportunity, we thought, to actually initiate the discussion with the school committee so that they could deliberate at a posted meeting and give us comments. It might not be the only time. We might have to do some more research and come back to them, but we're trying to initiate the discussion.
Okay. All right. I guess it's up to this board to decide, which approach it wants to take. The more aggressive approach would be, we'd like you to release this property so we can put housing on it and make that request. Or
Yes.
it would be more of or the other option would be a two-step. Do you have future need of this property? In which, if they say no, then we go back with a proposal. But, those are two different questions, but it sounds like the superintendent was reacting more to the former rather than to the latter. You guys were on the call, so I don't.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't recall the superintendent saying that they had any use for that parcel, but again, he, at the direction of the school, I guess, in consideration of the school committee, wanted a formal discussion. So
Okay.
This is our starting point.
And the reason why the lease only requires the select board approval is what? Is that doesn't have to go to town meeting, you said? An amendment to the lease?
I need to take a quick look at it, but the town meeting action that we were contemplating would be for the board to declare it surplus.
And that would require a two-thirds vote of town meeting.
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's just some more research. I might already have something from town council from a few months ago, or unless Ally can speak to it, but certainly, let me do a little bit more research.
Yeah, I wasn't obviously on the board when the original lease was let, and I don't know whether that went to town meeting or not. Okay.
All right.
I certainly favor the exploration of this for housing, and that exploration should not be limited to the 2.2 acres, but should include some additional acreage wherever it might be.
All right. My comment to your two-step process or potential, I wouldn't go two-step. I'd say we would like to use it for affordable housing. We should make that decision, at least for that piece of property. And then they'll tell us whether they have any other requirements. Corey has his hand up. Anyone else? Shereen, later or two? Yeah. Okay, but go ahead.
Okay, so a lot of feelings about this conversation. So if we're limited to the initial parcel that we have in our packet. Well, actually, I have no opposition whatsoever to going to the school committee and saying, is there any amount of land that you guys have that you consider surplus? The town is interested in, affordable housing or town projects, and ask them what the response is. I don't have a problem with that at all. The question is, when you get into, do we support, if we were to creep into more land that would encroach into the existing playing fields, which is my understanding of the request from an earlier citizen, that interpretation I'm opposed to. If it's the review and feasibility of developing some of that undeveloped area, which I don't believe is the ask, I'm open to looking at that. So I do want clarification on exactly what we are asking for. Now, playing devil's advocate, sitting in the school committee's side, they may or may not have an idea of what they want to use that land for, and I don't want to put political pressure on these folks, but let them decide on their own if it's surplus or not surplus. Obviously, I would be surprised if any of those school committee members would speak in opposition of an affordable housing project and concept in general. But in fairness, we've got a lot of things queued up that I want to see I don't want to spread ourselves too thin. We've got Buckley property. We will have a discussion at town meeting on Middle Road and see where that falls through. I'm frustrated that I'm shielded by executive session conversations, but we have other things that that may shed some very great benefits to affordable, attainable housing in the near future. So I'd like to see some of that stuff finished and completed, so we don't have all these little things simmering. Like, I want to see some things seen through, like significant projects. So this land isn't going to go anywhere. So I know it is important to consider. If we're going to develop it for anything, affordable housing is probably one of the very few things on a list that I would consider this for. But I want to be clear of where we're showing support for. If it's just asking the school committee, again, just asking the school committee if there's any parcel of land and they can determine the acreage, that's fine. But if you want to, dip into the ball field, that's where you're going to lose some support from me. So,
Okay. Shireen?
So to clarify from my position, Corey, I was not intending to take any usable land from the school, including the ball field. When I looked at it, it was the upland that is behind the ball field as a possibility, if it's feasible or not. But I think that we need to go to the school committee. We've had the initial conversations. They know we're teeing this up, and we're interested in affordable housing for this area. But we need to be respectful of what they come back with. And, I believe it could say we're interested in the land around Stepping Stone Road and any other land that you think might be surplus up behind the ball field. If that doesn't happen, I think we need to be adamant that we're very interested in the Stepping Stone property. I'm just going to reiterate again, we need to be doing this in all fronts and get some things done. And I think the time to be aggressive about projects and getting them lined up and getting them ready to go is where we need our direction. We've been building on this for years, and I know that we haven't seen to success projects as yet, but we're almost there, guys. And I think we really have to be extremely proactive in this town. We are way behind the 8 ball when it comes to year-round housing for this community. Thanks.
We got a couple, and before I go on to...
very last comment.
Okay, go ahead.
I get it. We need to be very supportive, and I'm fully agreeing with you that we need to get these projects going because we are behind. We are behind. But things take so leaping long in this town to get done. We have so many hurdles. We're losing staff. I want to be able to focus on the things that we've got simmering so we can actually see some things through. I'd be more happy to see, some significant housing projects that we've got queued up, finished, so we can actually see some results from this, than adding more things into the queue and spreading ourselves too thin. I know we got to be aggressive, but we also got to be fully understanding of what our resources are so we can actually see some results. That's where my concern is.
Yeah, I understand. I understand where Corey's coming from, and at the same time, I would just make this comment. We do have a couple of things that are simmering. We have, Middle Road, who knows how that's going to go. But, there's, like you said, executive session, there's an opportunity. But if we're going to do affordable housing, and I agree, it does take long, but the important part is the upfront part, to have a parcel of land and what the town zoning would be to get the rest of it done. We can do that on each of these parcels without, I don't want to say it doesn't take a lot of work. It does take work. But if we have at least one section of the stepping stone, I see that as being in the queue. We have it available, and then if you need a builder who does affordable housing, needs to have a parcel of land, he needs to have the zoning taken care of, and he needs a certain amount of support from the town. Otherwise, he's going to have enough problems anyway, and not everyone's going to agree with whatever the process is. But that's a basic need. And if we see that we have one parcel, let's say in West Chatham, which is hopefully going to be coming out. We have another one or two that are simmering. This could be another one that's simmering. That's I don't want to call it low-hanging fruit, but we put it into the option so that the zoning and everything else is available for it. Going beyond that into the ball fields and everything, I have a little problem with that too. But maybe we could ask the question. So that's where I'm going. Jeff had his hands up. I have Elaine on. Do you want to? You had a question really to avoid, from Elaine.
I think it would be appropriate just to get clarification, so that all of us are fully understanding what the suggestion is. So
Okay.
yeah, yes, I would.
That's fair. Let me go to Jeff first, and then let me ask Elaine to come on.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and just to continue kind of the fire metaphor here, I think we have a lot simmering, but we need a couple more irons in the fire. And why do we need a couple more irons in the fire? Because we need land, and we need options for developable land. And here is potential, like really good potential acreage to develop. We have a potential here, we have a potential there, but we can't do a thing without land. We got Middle Road teed up, we possibly could have stepping stones teed up, we've got Buckley potentially teed up, and we have maybe something else teed up, but we need options, because you know why? We are making up for lost time in this town. We really have a long way to go. And we can't get there without having options. So this is another potential, I think, very viable option that we might be able to develop going forward. And we won't know whether we can or not until we have that conversation with the school. And and I'm not going to put words in Superintendent Carpenter's mouth, but if he thought that there had been, a deep discussion or viable discussion at the schools about the use of that land, then he probably wouldn't have said, hey, why don't you have a conversation about affordable housing with the school committee? He probably wouldn't have done that. So I think the two-part thing is kind of moot, because I think they would have a warm ear about affordable and attainable housing at the schools, and I think that if they really had deep plans for that land, they would have already aired it, and they would have said, look, we got plans for that. So anyway, those are my thoughts. But we want developable land, we want options. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Elaine, I still see your hand's still up, so would you please clarify for Corey and us what you were?
Sure.
Thank you.
I just want to reinforce the fact that the land is free, unlike the other parcels you're looking at, because it's a lease. We own that property, and I think the lease expires at 20 years and has to be revisited. We're already 10 years into it. I did some research about, is there a minimum requirement for middle schools in terms of acreage? And there is no minimum, but I would tell you that 32 acres for a middle school is pretty much unheard of in most communities across the state. The other thing is, I don't know if you have walked that property, but it would not interfere with the ball fields, because that whole area is at a higher elevation. It looks down on the fields, but there's no way that it would ever impact the ball fields. And you could actually keep a buffer of trees There's an incline when you first come off of stepping stones, it goes up a hill. So there would be a road that goes up to the higher elevation. And I think, and it's in a residential area, there are other homes right behind it. And I certainly think looking at that parcel, you could fit 4 or 5 units up there without any problem. And I think we need to be, I think Dean asked the question, we be more aggressive? I think we should be. And I think probably this discussion should have happened when the district came and asked us for the 900,000 and to take over all the repairs on the elementary school with nothing in return to continue to keep the Chatham Elementary School open. That was going to be our problem. They dumped that problem on us. This is a way that they can do their part to help us keep Chatham Elementary open. That we're saying we want to put affordable and attainable housing here to increase the population for the town. And I would tell you, this could be done very quickly. Unlike the other properties that may or may not ever come to fruition, this is simply if the select board says this is what we want to do and this is what we want to see, I think this could move very quickly. And I think that somehow you could get it to town meeting. And I think Chatham would vote 2/3 in favor of declaring it surplus and reverting back to the town. Because again, it is our land, it is municipal zoned. And so that's it. It's not going to impact the fields. I don't see how that's possible. There's no way you're going to have kids running up and down that hill for anything. And as I said, you can have a buffer zone of trees along that edge so that it's not impacting the school in any way. Okay, hopefully that clarifies it. But it seems like no brainer. And I think it could move quickly, and I think it's going to move a lot more quickly than the Buckley property. And as I said, it's free. Thank you.
Thank you, Elaine. Corey has a point. I'm just going to make one small point that really doesn't change your argument at all. The additional cost for the elementary school is $700 and some odd thousand, not $900. We would have normally had $200,000 that we would have to pay anyway, but to take over the school, it's $750. Doesn't change your argument. I just want to make sure the number's right for you. Corey?
No. Elaine, thank you very much for that clarification, because based on previous comments, my interpretation was suggestions that we impact the playing field or fields to some degree, which I'm not supportive of. So I appreciate the clarification on the suggestion for additional land. Thank you.
Okay, Dean and then Jeff.
Thank you, Peter. Could we get that?
Hey, Ally, put the chart up again.
The one we just had on. Okay. So I understand Elaine to be talking about the property that is west of the ball field up to those houses to the west of the school, right? Is where you are now. Is that?
Yeah.
Do we know how wide that is?
Just give me 1 second, I can measure right now.
Roughly.
GIS is wonderful, isn't it?
About a little over 200 feet.
Okay.
Roughly, very rough.
Okay. I have no problem with exploring that for housing. I think I want to raise a potential procedural issue under the open meeting law in terms of what's on the agenda for tonight. What's on the agenda is the Stepping Stones Road piece, that crescent piece. So if we send a request to the school committee, we may want to consider separating the two items. If, in fact, what we want to do is request the release and the declaration of surplus of I'm calling it the crescent piece, that's one piece, and then we could ask them if they have any interest in retaining any of that other portion. The reason I raise this point is that if I'm a property owner in one of those houses on the other side, and I look at the agenda, I have no idea of knowing that the select board is going to take some action that might affect my buffer, as to which I might have an opinion. Again, I have no problem with the town looking at possibly putting housing in that section where you have the red dashed lines right now. but I think we may want to consider separating them out just as a matter of open meeting concern. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
I was going to make a motion, but now I'm more thoughtful. I'm not sure it quite matters, but I would want to approach the school committee with a conversation about declaring some of the land surplus out near stepping stones and nearby. And that could be a public meeting, posted, and folks could attend that live in the area. So I don't know, I guess I don't quite draw the fine distinction, and I think that we should have a conversation with the school committee about declaring the Crescent piece surplus, and further conversation about, is there any other land that they would be willing to
Corey?
willing to declare surplus?
Well, why don't we just start the ball rolling and approach them about this one parcel? Because they're going to look at the land, they're going to look at it through their lens as stewards of the property, understanding that there's a sentiment about affordable housing, and kind of get a basis of where the response is on this, because I wouldn't see us not developing this land and developing the other land. So if this isn't going to get developed for affordable housing, does it make sense to try to carve into the back parcel? So you got to start with this anyway, to get the back parcel. So start the ball rolling with this, open the conversations, open the dialogue, and see where it goes. And we can add on to it at a later time.
Yeah, kind of get back to Dean's point, what we have in front of us is that one parcel,
Right.
and we
Right.
can't go beyond that. I mean, as far as, or can we?
Well, Mr. Chair, it's not, the agenda item says for us to consider use of the stepping stones parcel/area under MRSD lease with the town. The entire parcel, because it's all one parcel, it hasn't been subdivided, is under the control of the Monomoy Regional School District. So however the board wants to present it, we can make that request. I just want to note for timing, so the next school committee meeting is Thursday night, so we're not going to be able to make that agenda. The agenda after that is on April 28th. They meet Thursday nights. So if there's any consideration or rush to try to get this as like a special town meeting for the May 14th meeting, it would have had to be posted by the 29th, and it's a 14-day posting. So I just wanted to put that out there, the timing for this to go to this town meeting, but the board has already considered some other articles that might be appropriate for another special town meeting in the fall, so
Yeah,
just to
we've
provide.
had a number of
some-
conversations about a couple of issues. Jeff?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion, I guess.
Okay.
I move that we direct the town manager to request an agenda item with the Monomoy Regional School Committee to consider the possibility of removing, designating, or, giving up, I should say,
It says surplus.
declaring the leased land surplus. And I use it broadly. It wouldn't just be stepping stones, it would be the entire property is leased. So to consider giving up the leased property for affordable attainable housing. That wasn't very articulate, but
How's that?
can you read that back, someone?
Would you want a portion of that leased
I see a
land?
portion of the property.
Yeah, declare a portion of the leased property surplus on stepping stones and stepping stones as surplus for affordable attainable housing.
Well, and you could add, if I might, Mr. Chair, including but not limited to stepping stones area, simply for the fact that that's identifying this particular.
Well,
On stepping stones, okay.
Go ahead, Dean.
I think I heard the motion, a portion, to declare surplus, a portion of the leased land on Stepping Stones Road.
There you go.
So that would
include-
cover everything.
That would
That's
include
good.
that whole section, right?
Okay.
Alec, you got that? Sean, you got that?
Hold on a
Yes.
second. Well, let's,
I'm gonna get
Go ahead, Corey.
I'm getting super hypersensitive. I know, but I would start with what we got on the agenda go, because I don't know what would be the designation of that land further back. Is that stepping stone?
it's all part of it's next to Stepping Stones Road.
It's all the leased land that the schools has.
And I think the access point can only be by stepping stones. I'm not really sure it could.
Well, no, there's a bike crab trail there, so it would not go through Stepping Stone unless we reroute the bike path. I hate to, if we want to keep this clean, let's move what we have in front of us and move it forward, and we add other agendas as we need to. But I hate to muddy the waters. Let's just keep it as simple as possible. To start the dialogue.
That's what I tried to do.
Jeff and Dean's looking to.
Failed miserably, I guess. Alec, can you read back what we have right now, please?
Sure. Currently, I have the motion down as, with Monomoy Regional School District, to declare surplus a portion of the leased land on Stepping Stones Road
For
affordable and attainable housing, yes.
Do you like off Stepping Stones Road any better than on Stepping Stones Road? With access off Stepping Stones Road?
Not to be too picky, but the bike path belongs to whom?
No, Chatham.
Yeah.
The town, right?
TSC.
I'm fine with your motion, Jeff. Let's just second it.
And,
Go ahead, Jeff.
no, we need a second, then we can discuss.
I second it.
Discussion, Jeff.
If we want to fine tune, if we have concerns, then I'd get town council involved in terms of the leased land and stuff. I don't think it's that complicated. You know, the entire parcel is leased from the town for the regional school committee, for the regional school.
Corey, go ahead.
During the review of this parcel for the COA, there was at least one or two neighbors, abutters, property owners that had strong opinions about developing that land or whatever. So I do think from a procedural mechanical point of view, I want to be very clear we're covering our butt on how we're doing this. And I think I don't want to muddy the waters. I think we got to be very clear, transparent of how we're doing this. And, we don't even know what the kind of reception we're going to have on the 2.2 parcel. So why,
Yeah, I understand what
I just don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We want to have a clean conversation. If we're supportive of this, let's move the conversation forward, and then we open up dialogue and post meetings accordingly to make sure everyone is crystal clear what we're talking about. I would feel more comfortable moving forward in that manner.
The school board is going to meet, Monomoy Regional School Board is going to meet at the end of the month.
Yes.
We're going to break this up into two different actions and have another put another agenda item on next week that talks about the other parcel. Does that make sense, or is?
The timing is up to the board,
I hear
but
what Corey is saying.
the next meeting that we could potentially meet would be on that Thursday, the 28th, and I presume they're going to need their agenda packet ready by that Monday. So that means next week, the board has, and that would probably be it to make that meeting, but they meet every 2 weeks.
Right, so we're looking at, if we were to bring this to a town meeting, it would be a special town meeting in the fall. So if we kick it off with this 2.2 acres, see what kind of response we get, have some dialogue, and they're like, well, we would like to have more, but this is what was asked. We expand it, we post proper meetings, and we just keep the dialogue going. I mean, we're only in April, so if we're looking at September, October for a town meeting, if we're looking for action on this, I don't think it's unreasonable, but maybe I'm just getting hypersensitive. I just don't want to fumble on this.
Yeah. Shireen?
We haven't specified an acreage especially in the agenda item itself. It says, so I don't know if you could amend your motion, Jeff, to just simply be generic enough to keep it open to the school committee by just stating Stepping Stones parcel area under Monomoy Regional School District lease. And I think that covers us for them to take a look at what they have in that area and to come back to us without getting into, is it the upland, is it the nearer to the road?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it again?
Please.
I move to request Monomoy Regional School District Committee, I move to request the town manager to request Monomoy Regional School District Committee an agenda item to discuss the use of Stepping Stones parcel area under Monomoy Regional School District lease with the town for affordable and attainable housing. And to declare the land surplus, so that the town may use it for affordable, attainable housing.
Second.
Okay.
I'll withdraw my earlier motion.
Any further discussion? I have a comment now, too, only because I understand what Corey's saying, but the thought came to me that if we're going to go to the school committee, I understand we want to get a dialogue, but we could potentially, the sense I had is that we could get, the 2.2 acres approved, and having a discussion on the second part, it's better to bring it all to them than to do it piecemeal, I think.
Well, that was the point of the agenda item. It says parcel/area, so we'll leave it up to them to decide what they're going to come back.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure that the town manager, I'm sure the town manager would put together a packet that's appropriate for that consideration.
Dean?
Do you want to add the word parcel/area in your motion? Just,
I thought I did. I thought I did.
did you say parcel?
Ye-
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Alec, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Give you another opportunity, Alec.
As I have the amended motion now, it says request the town manager to direct a request for the Monomoy Regional School District Committee, an agenda item to discuss the use of Stepping Stones parcel area under the MRSD lease with the town to declare the land surplus so the town may use it for affordable and attainable housing. So currently the word parcel is not in there. I would be happy to add it in there.
Please do, because I know I said it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Parcel/area.
Perfect.
I seconded it, yep.
You second it. Any further discussion? I don't have any. Okay, let's start. I'll go down the other end. Jeff?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Shereen?
Aye.
And the chair says aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ally.
All right, next on our agenda, water conservation, reaffirming conservation outdoor watering. Dr. Duncanson? I don't see him. There he is. Yeah. Welcome, Dr. Bob.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the board. So as noted in the staff memo, last summer, fall, when we were in the midst of the PFAS crisis and the drought conditions here on the Cape, we came before the board on several occasions and asked you to please implement water conservation measures. Originally, the request was to take the voluntary measures that we had passed earlier in the spring, which we'd done several years in a row, and make those mandatory. However, upon subsequent discussion with the board and others, it was changed into more of a complete outdoor ban on watering, because we felt that reducing it down to several days a week and certain times of the day would not get us where we needed to get to, given the drought conditions and the shutting off at the time of well number 8. And so we had wells 5 and 8 off. Well 4 was still off from the 1990s, and we were in that severe drought as well as the summer tourist season. So the board voted a total ban on outdoor watering, but did set aside certain limitations on the use of water for certain uses, including the watering of new plantings. So if you planted a new lawn, or you just planted shrubbery or things like that, or you had a vegetable garden, you could use town water to water those, as well as, given it was the fall season when a lot of the boating public was removing their boats from the winter and get ready to winterize them, the board did allow the flushing of boat bottoms, the flushing of engines, and the washing down of gear. So that ban on the outdoor use of water has basically been in effect all winter. And as indicated in the memo, while groundwater levels have rebounded somewhat, they are still down significantly from where they've been historically in the recent past at this time of the year. And you can see that pretty dramatically in the USGS monitoring wells that we included as an attachment, that generally, by early winter, groundwater levels have rebounded significantly from the summer lows. But last year we were down so low that even though there was some rebound last winter and there's been some rebound this winter, we started out so low compared to where it was historically that we still have a lot of ways to go. And it's especially noticeable in the Brewster monitoring well, which is around the Mid-Cape area as opposed to the Chatham well, which is relatively close to the shoreline, being at the intersection of Route 28 and Meeting House Road. So it's not quite used by a lot of the water professionals in the area as very representative of groundwater levels on a whole. So it's our recommendation that this water ban remain in effect as you voted it last September. We didn't have a whole lot of snow this winter. We haven't had a lot of rain this spring. People may question that, saying it's raining practically every other day. But you have to remember that this time of the year, when all the plants are waking up, a lot of that rainfall doesn't make it down to the groundwater. It doesn't replenish the aquifer. It's taken up by the vegetation as soon as it hits the ground, because they're all waking up and they're using that water. And then over the winter, while we did have some rainstorms in the middle of winter, the ground was basically frozen. So a lot of that simply ran off into the roads and then, right into our estuaries and other places. So again, didn't necessarily replenish the aquifer. And I think that's, a lot of what we're seeing in the groundwater levels. So it's our recommendation to you that we just continue that ban for now. We are working, the DPW and the engineers have been working diligently to bring the temporary treatment at well number 5 online. We're expecting the PFAS activated carbon vessel to arrive any day and be set on its temporary location, with the goal of getting that temporary treatment facility up and running before this summer's season. Well number 4 is back online. It's not back to its full capacity yet, but it is, as Tom indicated in a previous meeting, it is being pumped about 4 to 6 hours a day. And we will gradually ramp that up as demand ramps up, as it normally does this time of the year and then going into the summer. And then the wells 10 and 11 project is underway in terms of permitting. We actually had a meeting last night with the planning board where the planning board unanimously approved the site plan for that project. However, due to all the delays in procuring materials and equipment and whatnot, the engineers have now pushed the timeline a little bit to indicate that the wells 10 and 11 probably will not be online for summer 2023 as we had originally anticipated, but it may be late summer or the September timeframe before those 2 wells are back online, just given the timing, with all the delays in procuring equipment and supplies. And so with that, I will be happy to try to answer any questions the board may have.
Yeah, Dr. Duncanson, it's Peter. This is sort of a follow-up to questions we had last week, and you showed the 2 charts that you have that are attached to our package. Are you able to pull those up to show them to the public?
Yes, I can show them again if you'd like. Yep, give me a second here. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, you shared them last week.
Yep. So you should be able to see them now.
Yes.
The 2 graphs. The upper one being the Chatham monitoring well and the lower one being the Brewster monitoring well. Can you see those?
Yes, we can.
Okay. And as you can see, normally both of them have kind of, late spring peaks. when we've had, good winters and the heavy spring rains. And while we did see a bit of a peak last year in 2021, you can tell those peaks were significantly low where they were in 19 and 20. And then, this year, while we are seeing a peak, especially in the Chatham well, it's still not getting up to the levels that it's, was in 2019 and 2020. And as you can see in the Brewster well, conditions are even worse. While we are seeing a little bit of a peak, but you can see both peaks are now starting to tail off a little bit because we're getting into the drier period, we're getting into more water use and whatnot. So, unfortunately, things are not looking as great as we might have hoped, following this winter and early spring season.
Okay, Dean?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bob, I understand what your recommendation is based on, but back in September, the minutes of our meeting of September 21, 2021, say that it was discussed that the watering ban stay in effect until well number 4 comes online. And then it says farther down, it was stressed by the board that Chatham is in the middle of an emergency with its water. It was noted that well 4 needs to be brought back online before a decision is made to lift a total outdoor watering ban. So we do have well number 4 online. I know it's online for a limited use, 4 hours a day. I would assume that that could be increased. I think Elaine Gibbs made a somewhat persuasive argument, if not compelling argument, that there's an issue of equity here. If we're going to allow, the washing of boats, I know that's an end of the season thing. Perhaps I'm not a fisherman, so I can be corrected on that. Versus people wanting to maintain existing lawns who are on public water. I guess I'm wondering why we need to continue the total ban as opposed to allowing water use a couple of days a week. And I'd be curious to know what the other towns around us are doing, because I thought 1 or 2 of them, maybe Harwich had it, maybe it's full ban now, I don't know, but I thought that they had 2 days a week allowance, if you can enlighten me on that.
Yeah, I do not know offhand what our current, what our neighboring towns are doing at the moment, but I can certainly find out. And I would suggest that if you do decide to step back from the total ban and allow watering for some period of time, that it be limited to no more than 1 inch of water per week. We've talked about many times over the past that to maintain a lawn, you only need 1 inch of water a week, and that, irrigation systems be set so that they don't exceed that. I understand the desire to have green lawns, but, and we've talked about this many times in the past. That is not the norm on Cape Cod. The norm on Cape Cod is to have a Cape Cod lawn that, is green in the spring under natural watering conditions, goes dormant in the summer, turns brown, and then greens up again in the fall. I don't want to cast aspersions on our summer residents and all. I'm from New Jersey, just as full disclosure, and I know we typically pick on the folks from Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. I hate to say it, but I'm your health and natural resources guy. I'm supposed to help you guys. There's no reason to have a bright green golf course lawn unless you're on a golf course. It's just not a requirement. And I think as we've talked about in the past, I truly believe it is less of a requirement when you're dealing with the public water supply, that the public spends good money to pump out of the ground, to treat it for potable purposes, and then to turn right around and put that water right back on the lawn and back into the ground. If individuals really desire to have a bright green lawn, then they should put in a private well and, deal with it that way. But I don't feel that using public water is really the appropriate way to do that. Yes, we have well number 4 back online, but as I talked about in the past, remember well number 4 was offline for almost 20 years because of PCE contamination. We know that there's PCE contamination in the general area because well number 4 is not that far from wells 5 and 8. And it's perfectly possible that as we pump well number 4 more, longer hours and multiple days in a row, that we could start pulling PFAS into well 4. Remember, well 4 did have some low levels of PFAS in it when we first tested in April last year. It went away. And whether that was just because we were pulling it more to wells 5 and 8, we just don't know. We know it's in that general part of the town. And so there is always the potential as we use well number 4 more that we could end up having more of a problem with PFAS in well number 4, forcing us again, to shut it down just like we did 5 and 8. So I'm not convinced that well number 4 is an absolute, under any conditions.
Corey?
Just a quick question. If we do implement this full, or continue the full water ban, how does that going to impact any municipal projects we got in the queue? Because, like, as an example, I know we've stripped out the Sears Park Triangle, and I'm very much personally looking forward to having that redone and looking, nice again. But that's going to need a significant amount of water to reinvigorate that and replant that. So are we delaying that, or is that is that going to be impacted?
No, under the clarification that the board voted in September 21st, public water could be used for new saplings, plantings, and lawns. So that would allow the work at that location to continue.
Okay.
Dean? No? Okay. Anyone else? Jeff?
Thanks, Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob, I have a question on the graph that you sent out, the groundwater level above NAVD 1988 in feet. The scale that Chatham uses is different from the scale that Brewster uses. So I just wonder, why aren't they the same? And it's on the right-hand side of that graph. It looks to me like the groundwater level in Brewster above NAVD is better than it is here at 18,
Yeah,
even though, anyway, I have that question.
Yeah, the scales are simply different because of the elevation of the ground surface that you're starting from. So in Brewster, the ground is actually higher than the Chatham location. So the level it appears to be down further, if you will.
Right.
So that's the real difference. They're just the difference in elevation of where they're starting from, the top of the ground surface.
But you can't draw the conclusion that we're doing a little better than Brewster in terms of our level?
Just you can look at the graph lines themselves, and you can see there's been a little bit better increase in the Chatham well. Its entire slope of the line in Chatham is a little bit better than it is in the Brewster well.
Right. So just a couple comments. That we had the caveat for cleaning bottoms of boats because it was the fall and people were hauling out. So I can live without that if we want to have parity there. I tend to be a little bit more circumspect and or conservative with respect to this issue. I think it's more important to try to preserve the potable water supply in town than it is to water lawns. So that's kind of where I draw the line. So I would tend to want to vote, I'm probably going to vote for continuing the ban. However, I wouldn't mind revisiting the issue as we go forward to see how we're doing. If we have a really, really wet spring and, optimism springs eternal, perhaps we can revisit it. But I would support, not cleaning bottoms of boats until the fall. I mean, I think that's, but you have to do it in the fall. That's why we had that clause in there. So those are my thoughts. I would tend to continue for now. I think we need to be circumspect rather than, we need to be very circumspect.
Yep,
Thanks.
thanks, Jeff. Dean had his hand up, then Shereen.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm looking at the qualification that we voted on September 21 regarding new saplings and plantings. What about transplantings? People do transplant shrubs. Is that included under new plantings, Bob? Is that, I mean, that's really, I guess, the board's intention. I know I mentioned the phrase, I used the word transplant last time, but it didn't get incorporated into the actual vote.
Yeah, I would include, if you're transplanting a plant and you're putting it in a new location, yes, then you need to water it. And so I would suggest that does fall under the board's clarification.
And my other question, picking up on something Jeff just proposed, how would you feel if the board were to vote this in tonight, but have a review or a sunset for a possible reissuance on, let's say, June 1st? How would you feel, Bob? If that,
I think
it's
that's
not
fine.
100% of what you want, but.
I think, the board, this is the board's action. You can revisit this whenever you'd like. I think we would could certainly have a discussion once the temporary treatment at well 5 is online, which we're expecting to be sometime hopefully in May. If that goes well and we do get a lot more rain, and we see groundwater levels rebounding, certainly you can revisit this at any time.
June 1.
Okay, Jeff, Shereen, you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the idea of revisiting this, if it has the appearance of fairness, but I do want to say that, we're living in a whole different, our climate change issues are ongoing. They're not going to change, and we might get into these cycles of drought and non-drought. But the bigger picture for the Cape's environment is to encourage people to start planting more natural, native plantings that actually can thrive in the scenarios that we're having. I'm not particularly married to a green lawn. Anybody goes down my road, they're going to see lots of wildflowers in the front yard because I have bees, and I particularly don't like mowing my lawn. So, I might whack it down a little bit, and I think my neighbors are okay with it. I have some that have coiffed lawns and others that don't, but the bottom line is I'm not going to spend precious water putting it onto a green lawn. It's just not how I grew up. I grew up here on Cape Cod. I know what Cape Cod lawns look like. I love them. I wish we could have more of them. And so I'm really receptive to the idea of looking at this and review maybe by June 30th, but keeping this regulation in place for now, or this decision in place for now.
Okay, any other comments?
Let's just review it. This is put it in place, review it in 60 days, or whatever, and yeah, that's fine.
May, June, yeah, it'd be 60 days or so.
So.
Do we have a motion? Jeff? You okay?
I move that we continue the ban that we voted prior, excuse me, and then revisit the issue at June 30th.
Second.
Second, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
So the washing of the boats, the bottom of the boats, do you want to continue that ban?
It is a fall thing when you haul out.
Okay. So, sorry.
Go ahead.
Jeff, would you mind just reading exactly what the ban is? I think that might provide just some future clarification. So that is on the bottom, it looks like, on page 1 on the September 21st, 2021 meeting where the board clarified its vote.
Sure.
Are you okay with that?
Yep. So the motion would be to approve a total outdoor watering ban, including no washing of driveways, sidewalks, or vehicles, no washings of decks, furniture, or houses, no topping off of swimming pools or hot tubs, no irrigation of established lawns, shrubs, flower gardens. Public may water new saplings, plantings, transplantings, and lawns, vegetable gardens, and may clean the bottom of boats. And, I think you got to allow the cleaning the bottom of boats if someone needs to. It's going to be a lot less than it was in the fall. Flush boat engines, you may still have somebody that needs to flush an engine, and wash down gear. Owners of private wells are encouraged to comply. Thanks.
Okay?
So it's exactly the same, except you've added the word
I
transplant.
did.
Okay?
With a June 30th review.
With a June 30th review,
Correct.
that's correct. All right. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll start with Shereen.
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our final agenda is to release of executive session minutes. We have a whole host of executive session minutes. We are provided separately to review. I would offer that we can, when we make a motion, we go down, we had a new agenda item, cover letter, our staff report, the beginning which release of executive minutes, and there's 4 separate areas. Did you see that one? And we could vote, we should vote by indicating that the dates for each of those. So we would have a separate motion for each, all 4, does that make sense? Separate motion for each, reading that as such. Does that make sense? In other words, the first one would be a move to release executive session minutes for property acquisition, 365 Main Street. Dates, February 23, 2016, May 31st, 2016, July 26, 2016, December 6, 2016, July 11, 2017, and August 15, 2017.
I have a clarification question. I'm trying to think of the dates. I mean, I think I'm fine on these dates, but there's some down the road here that I wasn't in attendance, so we're going to have to break them out.
I wasn't in attendance at one of them.
What? Do you have to be in attendance? You don't. Minutes, you really don't.
I mean, you
As long
can
as you-
abstain if you want, but you don't necessarily have to be in attendance to vote to release the minutes.
Oh, it's to release the minutes.
Yeah, as
not
long as you're fine with what they
Got
say.
it. Okay. All right.
But,
I've always
I see.
agreed with what Jill said, but every committee and every board in this town always does the opposite, and people are abstaining left and right, but that's fine. I'm happy to do what,
Yeah, not everyone. I am on the one that doesn't do that, but yeah, I agree. Corey?
We're not asking to approve them, which would make you part of the participation. We're looking to release them.
Got it.
So they were previously,
Good point.
that's my interpretation.
I get it
I'm
now.
a non-lawyer, so don't look at me.
they
So.
have to be approved.
Approving and releasing.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. See, that's why I'm not a lawyer.
Do you still say the same, Jill?
Well, yes, the reason why we had the dates is to be very clear that we release the correct minutes for the executive session, and I think, Mr. Nacastro, you had noted that there was one set of minutes relating to, I think it was this topic, 365, that were not included in the bulk. So we thought maybe with dates it'd make it easier for us, but it's up to the board. I think there's no expectation that you could recall everything that happened in 2016. And if you're not present, if you feel more comfortable abstaining from the vote, we'll just go by date, so you can do that.
I'm okay with voting to approve a set of minutes that I didn't, I am okay with voting to approve a set of minutes for a meeting that I was not present at. I am okay with that.
And
But-
to release, that's the.
And to release them. But I wanted to ask Shauna, because yesterday I called Shauna, and there were a couple of places where one of the select members was missing, the name was missing on the vote. Did you take a look at those? And-
Yes, I checked the minutes, and it was just an oversight.
Okay. Okay, there were a couple of places where Corey's name, he was present at the meeting, and the vote for somehow, the vote didn't include his name, but Shauna has corrected that, so.
That's right.
So a motion's been made and seconded.
And it would
to
be,
approve that
it's
first.
amended motion to approve and release? Okay, so I only said release, so it would be approve and release.
That's seconded.
Second, okay. That was the first one, so we'll take a vote. Shereen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Aye. You want me to read them all?
Sure.
Okay. Move to approve, excuse me, move to approve and release executive session minutes for property acquisition, 45 Bridge Street, February 23rd, 2016, March 8th, 2016, June 27th, 2017, July 25th, 2017, and August 15th, 2017. Second. Discussion? Seeing none. Jeff?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Shereen?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Number 3, move to approve and release executive session minutes for property acquisition. Gander Lane, Gosling Way, dates March 18, 2019, April 29, 2019, July 1st, 2019, September 9th, 2019. Second discussion, seeing none. Jeff?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Shereen?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Number 4, move to approve and release of executive session minutes on litigation, Beatty et al. Versus Town of Chatham, reconsideration of the 1997 taking of Stage Harbor Road, Battle Road, Cedar Street, Champlain Road, Port Fortune Lane, Sears Road, and Stage Neck Road / annual town meeting vote of 2019. Dates, February 16, 2016, March 29th, 2016, and March 21st, 2017. Discussion?
Battlefield Road, yeah.
Okay, we have a second. Shereen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
And Jeff?
Aye.
And Chair says aye.
Mr. Chairman, I just
ahead.
wanted to, Jill mentioned a set of minutes for a meeting that was inadvertently missed, but Shauna has since found those notes, and that's going to come before us at a future meeting for release, approval and release.
Yes, the minutes were prepared, but they weren't added to the bulk. So
Okay.
yes, we'll bring
Thanks.
this back.
Okay, good. That's it. All we need is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay, take a vote. Shereen?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Dean?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Chair says aye. Good night, Chatham. Thank you very much. Have a
Hey,
good
folks.
weekend.
Thank you.